As the Pac-12 turns, we have exclusive details for you today on the show about what's going on with the Pac-12. You know, yesterday we did a deep dive into, how Apple TV works and how much assimilation there is with Apple TV and the sports universe. And very clearly that was not a lot. It caused us to do some digging. We reached out to TV industry sources. And we were able to really mine some information from sources very close to the situation that say 4 Pac-12 presidents have expressed significant dissent when it comes to Apple TV being the sole distribution partner for the Pac-12 conference. And the issue here very clearly is there's money to be had at Apple, but the question is, are Pac-12 presidents on board with a exclusive deal? Which means no other distribution channels, no ESPN, no Fox, nobody else. Just Apple TV, a la MLS Soccer. Our Pac-12 president's on board with that. We have told you for months and months and months that we know that several are not. And now we have been able to, through sources in the TV industry, confirm that the holdup with the Pac-12 and a TV deal is that they can't get on the same page about how much of this deal can be streaming. And we were told today that 4 presidents in the Pac-12 are not on board with streaming as the sole, and what would be the word, channel of distribution for the conference. And I have to say, we've heard this now for months. This isn't something that's new today, but it is rather shocking that still, after going on 7 months now, this conference has not been able to get on the same page as to whether or not streaming is the right avenue to distribute their content. And I'm not just talking about football. I'm talking about all Pac-12 sports. And there was some belief, by the way, I also found out today, there was some belief that Apple TV was going to buy the assets of Pac-12 networks. We're told that's absolutely not the case, that Apple TV is not in negotiations to buy, quote unquote, lock, stock, and barrel the assets of the Pac-12 network. But this is a really interesting turn of events because we're going to tell you here in about 5 minutes who these 4 schools are that we have been hearing about. But Jake, I don't know how you fix this because it's been 6 months at a minimum that this conversation inside the conference has been going on, and they are still not on the same page.
Yeah, and if you're not on the same page after 6 months, I don't know when you're going to get on the same page. And I think the trouble is, like we've talked about so many times, the trouble is that there's just not a lot of options. There's not a lot of ways out. There's not a lot of ways to build the yellow brick road to security and reliability in the conference. And I look at this situation with, several presidents not being okay with Apple being a tier 1, sole distribution partner. And I think that's an issue for a number of reasons, most of which obviously is that Apple has money. Apple wants to actually pay you, unlike so many others who don't, and you don't want Apple. And the problem is you're not really in a position to not want Apple. And the thing that's so problematic with it is Apple is not yet on the forefront of streaming sports. Yes, you do have the MLS deal, 100%, and by all accounts that product has gotten better as the season's gone on. We've heard from multiple listeners on the showroom here. We've heard from industry sources. Like, everybody has said, hey, the product has improved. But I don't think that makes Apple TV the king of sports streaming. I don't think that makes Apple TV the go-to when you want to see this sporting event or that sporting event. And I think that's what's tough. So for the Pac-12, it's really a proposition of, hey, do we want to be a trendsetter and do we want to kind of change the fortunes of Apple TV, or at least try to, by allowing them to be our sole distribution partner? Or are we in a position where we're still trying to get $9 million from ESPN, or we're still trying to get this from Fox or that from CBS, or hell, even that from NBC, even though their CEO was fired the other day for inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace? So that's why I say for the Pac-12, there's just not a lot of options. And that's why I say I think that they have to embrace streaming more. And I've always maintained that you could go all in on streaming, and I think you could be successful. I just think it's the unpaved road for you. In their eyes, it's uncharted water. The road is not yet built.
Yeah.
Like, it's us doing something that's never been done. And where I say, hey, that's an opportunity, they say, hey, that's a hurdle. And I think that is the major difference between the Pac-12 and the Big 12 and some of these other conferences.
Well, I think it comes down to what we talk about so much in life, which is, faith is believing in the unseen. And I think when you are the Pac-12, you have a very, and I want to be kind, but the truth is you have a very old leadership group. You have presidents that are not young folks. And I think that's a huge problem here, because my guess is a lot of these presidents, from as it's been described to us, want the nameplate. And they don't view Apple as the nameplate. They view Amazon as a nameplate, which is why I think you heard so much about Amazon Prime Video out of the gate very early in this process. And now you've heard a lot less. Because I think now, as we first reported on the show, we all know Apple is only interested in a Friday night game of the week. Amazon is only interested in a Friday night game of the week. I think we told you that back in November. Amazon was never in for tier one all in. That was never where Amazon was going. And the pulse that we get from Amazon is they're really just trying to figure out what sports is going to look like for them. They're trying to figure out how much and how far and how deep into sports are they going to go at Amazon. Amazon doesn't know that. The Pac-12 clearly doesn't know that. And now you're in a situation where you have presidents in this league, as it was described to us, that frankly do not want to do a deal that doesn't include ESPN and ABC. Mm-hmm. And it again goes back to this idea that Pac-12 presidents, and I don't know what's the right way to say it, Pac-12 presidents are very stuck in their ways. They're not people that want to look forward and say, yeah, let's be trendsetters, because I think they know that they are on the verge of disintegration. Because if you get the deal that we've all heard about, which is $22 million a year per school, that's not a deal that many schools are going to stick around for.
Right.
So if you can't get streaming and ESPN in some form or fashion, I think you're in real trouble. But our TV sources told us straight away, ESPN and Apple TV are not fast friends. That would be a complicated deal. It would not be impossible, but it is not likely that Apple TV and ESPN are in bed together on something. It is a very different situation than ESPN and Amazon, who I think would work quite well together, as it's been described to us. Apple does not share well. They do not play well with others. And I think it puts the Pac-12 into this situation where they're kind of in no man's land here, because they're not confident enough to do things that are uncomfortable for them as a group. And I think when you look at these presidents, there's a reason for that. One, they're all academias. They're all big brain people that run institutions. They're administrators. They are not scientists. They are not engineers. They are not innovators. They are people who read profit and loss sheets, and they want a bigger number on the P&L than they're currently being offered. And I think that's a huge problem, because if you're not willing to get outside of your comfort zone, and if you are only willing to do what you've always done, you're going to get the same result you've always gotten. And that is exactly where the Pac-12 is at. It's not where the Big Ten is at. It's certainly not where Brett Yormark and the Big 12 are at. Those two conferences specifically are innovators. They're doing things that are non-traditional to make themselves new money. And the question is, how long will it be before the Pac-12 gets on board with that way of thinking? And the answer is, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Because it does not seem like that's something that's going to happen quickly.
Well, and every day that goes by, your opportunity gets smaller and smaller to survive. I mean, that's the...
It does. It very much does.
And that's why I've always used the analogy or the concept of, like, the Pac-12 is bleeding out here, because they are bleeding out. Like, every day that goes by that you don't have a TV deal, you're slowly but surely losing the blood of your conference. And I think that's what's really tough is, like, you're right. The leadership in the Pac-12 is older, and the older demographic in this country is not yet a demographic that is real comfortable with streaming and real comfortable with anything not involving a TV. And I think that's the tough part. Like, boomers are just not comfortable with technology even the way Gen X is. Gen X is quite comfortable with technology.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then millennials down are obviously the streaming generation. So it's like for the Pac-12, you're like one generation too early from really dominating streaming, and you aren't willing to make the jump. And what's fascinating to me is it's not even that I feel like the presidents don't like streaming. I feel like they just don't have a vision for streaming. Like Pac-12 presidents have a vision for how they would do a number of different things for their school, obviously, and all the things that they're responsible for. But when it comes to the streaming thing, they have a real tough time understanding, like, okay, Jimmy in his dorm room is going to stream how exactly, or how does that work? Or
yeah, they don't. I think they don't have a vision for it.
Yeah,
and I think empathy to the end user is something that's tough to describe if it's not what you're comfortable at. So yeah. I think this is a really important period. The next week to 10 days, I think, is going to be really important, because if we don't start hearing and we don't start seeing these presidents getting together, I think there's a real chance that this conference goes into a window where we could actually see them lose membership. Because I don't believe right now today, based on the conversations I've had with people, I do not believe right now today anybody is close to jumping ship. I just don't. Mm-hmm. That's not the sense I get. That's not, in talking to people, that's not where I feel like these presidents are at. That is coming. And if we get to, I honest to goodness, if we get to the second week of May, if we roll around here and we're in a situation where, a week from now, it's going to be the 3rd of May. I think if we get to May 8th, May 12th, and there is not significant movement, if they have not gotten significant new data and information, if Pac-12 presidents by that second week of May have not moved pretty dang close to a grant of rights,
yeah,
I think that's when you're going to start to see things will get shook up. Because everybody keeps going with this July 1st date. That date is meaningless. That date means absolutely nothing. They are under contract for the next year and 2 months. It means absolutely nothing. What I'm telling you is, I think you have a bunch of these presidents that are committed to this conference. And I think you have 3, 4, 5 of them that are sitting on the fence. And I think right now, they're not going to say anything. But I think within the next week to 10 days, that's when you're going to start seeing people get uncomfortable. Because notice what we have not had lately. We have not had press conferences. We have not had interviews. We have not had, hey, Dennis Dodd at CBS or John Wilner, or you're not hearing Stuart Mandel having long involved conversations with presidents on the record.
Yeah.
Because it does not benefit them. But what you are having, and we've been told this, and we've reported this consistently, the back channel conversations are ugly. There are some of these presidents who are just diametrically opposed to one another. There are some of these presidents that are, President Randall, Taylor Randall at Utah, has been nothing short of an integral part of calming the winds and the fires in the Pac-12. I think he has done, from what it was described to me, he has done a very, very important piece of business of calming people down. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's just wait. We gave this guy a job to do. Let's let him do it. And then if he comes back and the job's not done or not done well, then we can have new conversations. Well, I think that job not done or not done well or done very well will happen in the next week to 10 days. And if it's not completed, or if they're not, again, not to be redundant, but if they're not moved significantly closer to a grant of rights, you're going to start seeing people get incredibly nervous, because what they do not want in the Pac-12 is to kick off this football season and not have direction, and not have a TV deal, or not have a new conference, or not have a new home or a path for next season. Because it's not an option to go into October, November, December 2024 and not have any idea where you're going or what you're doing. That's just not going to cut it. I believe firmly that we will get 100% clarity by the time fall camp opens up.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think these presidents are willing to sit and wait. They're just not. I'll tell you who those 4 presidents are coming up after we talk about Bucked Up, the official energy drink of the Monty Show. And I'm so excited today because I went to Ryan Gardner, the president, CEO, the founder, the big dog at Bucked Up. And I said, listen, my guys on the show have been asking me a whole lot about Buckshot, which is one of the newer products from Bucked Up that has really taken off. People are super excited about it. And Buckshot is that little energy supplement that you take to give you all day clean, long-lasting energy. That's what Buckshot is all about. It allows you to focus. It allows you to be more productive. It allows you to have that productivity that's not stressed where you're tired or your eyes hurt or your mind's not focused. It gives you a better attitude. It gives you a better mood. It uplifts you for all day, long-lasting, clean energy. Buckshot from Bucked Up. You want to try it? Well, how about we give it to you free? In the description below on this YouTube show, and if you're listening to our audio podcast, hook it up. It's in the description below. It says free samples of Buckshot. You get not 3, not 4, 6 free samples of Buckshot. Your flavor choice. Knock it down, whatever you want. Hook it up. Try it out. That's the hookup you get on the Monty Show. From our friend Bucked Up is one of our favorite partners.
Yes.
Because they do stuff like this. They never ask you to spend money. They don't want you to take their word for it. They want you to try it because they know the product is phenomenal. Get in the description of this show below. Click on the link that says free samples. They'll send them right to your front door. Buckshot from Bucked Up. By the way, thank you, Ken Williams. Thank you, all of the Riley O'Brien, who said, hey, Monty, we've got the Bucked Up Miami back in stock. My goodness.
Let's go.
An ice-cold can of Bucked Up Miami will set you straight. All right, real quick, I want to acknowledge our big tippers today. Stephen Smith gives us a $20 tip to say, does having the Pac-12 presidents thinking that they only want ESPN to be part of the deal and no major streaming, meaning they will get the deal of $22 million or less because of this stance? I disagree. It has been described to us repeatedly that the majority of presidents in this conference believe streaming is a valuable part of their next deal. But the majority of presidents in this league also don't want to sign a deal that does not include ESPN. Their concern is relevance, reach, the ability to leverage their content moving forward. And the issue has been that for so long, your content on Pac-12 networks has been quite literally meaningless. You have not been able to monetize it. You have not been able to leverage it. And now you're in this situation where you're about to sign a new deal that I'm told is 5 years. The idea of a 10-year deal, I think we've been pretty consistent with this. Nobody is going to sign a 10-year deal.
Well, and you have Chancellor DeFastano up at Colorado.
That's right.
Talking about how, he doesn't want to see a 12-year deal. He wants to see, a 5-year deal. Because ultimately, this last deal, the deal that's expiring now, was I think a 12-year deal, and everyone, in his opinion, went past them technologically speaking.
But Jake, that can't be his opinion because that would validate the things we've been reporting for 5 months. So I think this is a made.
We're YouTube hacks though, so
we're just the hacks on YouTube.
3/4 of this is inaccurate.
We've been telling you since I think October that that they want a 5-year deal because they want to be able to renew and grow that deal down the line.
Yeah.
But so Steven, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just not what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's just not what I've heard at all. The Hero 75. My friend is convinced that someone in the PAC will jump this week. He believes the schools want to hide the news during the draft. I think he's an idiot, who thinks news like that can be hidden. Well, what I would say is, first of all, I think Friday night at like 10 p.m. Pacific time is when people hide news.
Yeah.
I think when you look at where these guys are now, Hero, I don't think they jumped this week because I think they are, much like Taylor Randall and a lot of other presidents in the conference have said, we gave George Kliavkoff a job. Let him do the job. I don't think any of these schools are close to making that kind of catastrophic decision for the conference.
Yeah.
Because when one goes, I believe you're going to get 4 or 5 or 6 that are going to go. And but I don't see that happening now. Frankly, I don't see that kind of announcement until at least the latter half of May. I think what's going to happen is you are going to see that in about a week to 10 days, if they are not moving on, you're going to start hearing again.
Yeah.
When you start hearing people in the conference doing on-the-record interviews instead of giving sourcing and talking off the record, when you hear these presidents and these athletic directors come back around and they start talking about, hey, that's when you're going to know that they're getting antsy.
Yeah.
Because if this deal should have been done already. And you can listen to whoever you want. You can think I'm a jamoke or Jake's an idiot or whoever your guy is. But what this really comes down to is consistency and messaging. And the consistent message we have given you on this show is that they are going to allow George Kliavkoff to try his damnedest because none of them want to leave this conference.
Yeah.
There is not a president, a chancellor, whatever you want to call them. There is not a member of leadership in this conference, an athletic director or a president or a chancellor who's eager to go to the Big 12. None of them, not a single one, for a myriad of different reasons. There's not one. That's very different than saying there are many who would go to the Big 12.
Correct.
That's very different.
Yeah.
Because they would go. They're not excited to go, and I don't think they want to go. And that's why I said, like, with all due respect to your friend who may well be an idiot, they're not going to listen, the first one who goes is not going to be looking for the cover of Night.
Yeah. I mean,
they're going to be looking for a megaphone and a huge stage.
Yeah, and you wouldn't go alone either. I mean, just don't, like you're going to go as a group or you're not going to go.
I wholeheartedly agree with. I think you will go.
I mean, you notice USC didn't go alone, right? Like USC, started it alone, and then obviously UCLA went with.
And USC and UCLA did make that announcement under the cover of darkness. Remember that. Let's get you these 4 presidents. 4 Pac-12 presidents are not on board with Apple TV as a sole distribution partner. That is exclusive reporting here on the Monty Show. We are told that the 4 presidents who do not want exclusive all-in deals with Apple TV are Arizona, Arizona State, Washington, and Colorado. Those 4 have been, according to our sources, high in the TV industry. Those 4 presidents specifically have been the loudest dissenters when it comes to all streaming deals. And their arguments are that is going to absolutely kill our reach. And that is going to kill our ability to put out our PR. That is going to kill our ability to promote ourselves. That is going to kill our ability to drive money through this deal. And I am also told the other part of the problem with the Apple deal is there is a subscription minimum to reach full valuation.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we were told, and I don't remember how many weeks ago it was now, but we talked about this on the show, where much like MLS, the Pac-12 would have to add a certain level of subscribers to Apple TV. Not, by the way, through a mobile deal or a 1-year trial. Full paying, full freight memberships to Apple TV that you can tie directly to the Pac-12. They will have to reach a minimum of that. And if they do not reach a minimum of that, they will pay rebates to Apple TV for their deal.
Yeah.
So there are some issues. Now, I want to make this clear. I am not in any way saying that Arizona State, Washington, and Colorado have said we're not doing a deal with Apple TV. Don't get this twisted and don't say, well, hey, fan ass on YouTube.
Guys.
He said, what I'm telling you is, and I can tell you specifically, I am told President Kase has been a very loud voice in this.
Me?
President Kase and these three others have been the loudest dissenting voices. They want, if it's going to be Apple, and I am told President Kase would very much prefer Amazon Prime Sports. If it's going to be a streamer, Tier 1 needs to be on TV, on linear TV, and they would prefer that to be ESPN and ABC.
Right.
And then your Tier 2 below games, so your very best game of the weekend needs to be on ESPN. And your other content can be on your streaming partner. But under no circumstance do I believe that those four presidents will sign a grant of rights that is streaming only through Apple TV.
Yeah, and that's where I think, to that super sticker comment, tip we got earlier about, ESPN and 22 million, like you start to understand why the $22 million number works, because that ESPN has said, hey, we're only willing to pay the Pac-12 $9 million per year per school. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, that would be your Tier 1. And then let's say it's Apple or Amazon or, whatever your spice of life is, they're going to come in with, $10+ million. In this case, it'd be $13 million. And that's how you're getting to $22 million a year. So it's not really rocket science to do the math and understand how you could get to the low 20s. But I think what's really fascinating and dynamic is that I'm not sure that. So what have we been told today? We've been told that four presidents are not cool with streaming. And we already know that President Kase at Washington has been against streaming for a long time. That's not new. That's
been against 100% streaming.
Yeah, like that's not a new thing. And I think this concept of like balance between linear and streaming and just how far can streaming come up. I mean, I feel like right now in a lot of TV deals, it's like 80% linear, and then we're just going to throw some rando content on the streaming side and fulfill our obligations. That's kind of what it feels like. And I feel like that paradigm needs to come to the middle a little bit. The only problem is that the leadership in the Pac-12 isn't really trying to do that. And that's what I think is difficult. And that's why I think this Pac-12 deal is just dragging on for what seems like forever.
Yeah, while you hit the like button, I would also like to tell you that I think this has been a consistent arc of, I don't know, like it's evolved consistently on this arc of, hey, how much of this deal are we going to do on stream?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of will stream be part of it. How much of this deal will be on stream? We've been talking about this. Go look on the channel, friends. We've been talking about this back to August and September.
Yeah.
About this new TV deal. And I will just rest on our track record. You look at the guests we've had on this show, whether it is Commissioner Navarez in the Mountain West, whether it is, our Brian at Scripps was on the show.
Yes.
You look at the fact that our sourcing's been pretty rock solid on this. And the question has always been, how much of this deal will be on stream? That's a big deal. That's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at where this lands and you look at how this is all playing out, I don't think there's any question that the most difficult part of this, Brian Lawler,
Yes.
the president of Scripps Sports, was on this show. The interview is on the channel.
Yeah.
He talked about the Pac-12.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any question that the grant of rights is going to come down to the percentage of the creme de la creme matchups in this league, in the Pac-12, that are going to be on stream.
Well, and the other problem is you don't have a plethora of creme de la creme matchups. I mean, isn't that what
I would agree.
The envy of the SEC is, that even your mid-table SEC team would be considered creme de la creme in other conferences? I mean, that's what enables them to make the kind of money they make. And I think that's what's really tough is like, how is it that you're going to justify, 2 games a week on linear that are your creme de la creme? I honestly feel like as a conference, you need to have at least 4 games a week, like 4 games a week that are like, yeah, dude, like that's 2 really good teams, or at least one really college football playoff ready team, and then another one that's kind of scrappy, maybe a top 25 team or something. You know, like you got to at least have that. And I think that's what, unfortunately, the Pac-12 struggle with.
That's good, but you can't take Los Angeles out of this picture and think
that you're going to be okay.
It's a very difficult equation.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing why I say you can't rush into these things. I totally understand that. But you've had 8 months now. And the writing has been on the wall from when ESPN and Fox suggested the Pac-12 and the Big 12 merge, and the Pac-12 said absolutely not. I think the biggest indicator that there was trouble, ESPN was unwilling to compete with Amazon. They were not going to get into a bidding war. And who, by the way, we reported that first exclusively on this show, that ESPN was not going to get into a bidding war. Has there been a bidding war? There hasn't. Everybody else was telling you, oh, ESPN and Amazon are going to fight it out. There's been no fight whatsoever because, again, as we reported exclusively on this show, yeah, Amazon doesn't want the whole thing. They want one game on a Friday night, but that one game becomes problematic because they're not going to pay you a lump sum of money, frankly, for being honest, for Arizona football against Washington State on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Are they going to pay for Oregon and Utah? Yeah, they would.
Yes.
But then what do you say to ESPN and ABC? Because you're not taking the biggest game off of ESPN. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
So there was never a need for ESPN and Amazon to compete. The first thing our sources in the TV industry told us was there's never going to be a competition there because ESPN simply does not view Amazon as competition.
Yeah.
It's why they were willing to help. It's why they were willing to consult on the NFL, because they don't view Amazon as competition.
And neither do I. I don't think Amazon is competition.
I don't either,
dude. I think they operate, in 2 different spaces. I think.
But no, you know why Amazon's not competition? Because I don't think Amazon is that all in on sports.
Oh, I agree with that too.
I don't think Amazon is like, oh man, we've got to dominate sports. Jeff Bezos, he's got a rocket ship shaped like a blue penis. We're all in.
We got to pay for jet fuel.
I don't think they're all in on sports. I think Amazon enjoys their current existence.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out where the consumer is going. And I think that is the bottom line on this.
Yeah.
Amazon is not competition. Now, is Apple competition to ESPN? Yes. And why is Apple competition to ESPN? Because I think there's no question in my mind that Apple wants to own the entire planet of sports. If they could have the World Cup, the NBA, the MLB, NFL, they would take it all.
Thanks.
Absolutely, they would take it all, and they've got the money to take it all. But I don't think we as a sports population are there yet. And I think that's the thing that terrifies the Pac-12 presidents so much, that they know that the consumer's not there yet. So...
yeah, and I think the consumer is just chilling. And that's the other problem for the Pac-12 is the consumer is not like, oh, my God, like, man, I have got to catch this, Cal-Washington State game. My God. Like, you're not saying that. And that's
I have got to see Stanford taking on
it's
Utah
unreal.
Tech, that
Yeah.
sleeping giant.
Holy cow.
Right?
Like, man, like, honey, cancel the dinner plans. We're staying home tonight.
Better order Papa Murphy's pizza.
That's what I'm right. Like, no olives, okay? Like, dude, come on, bro. You're not doing that as a football fan.
You're not.
And that's why I say, I almost feel like the Pac-12 leadership just kind of lives in its own little bubble because you're operating as if you have this amazing product that everyone's going to watch. And you're willing to say, nope, can't have streaming as tier 1. Nope, can't do it. Got to have ESPN, even though we know ESPN doesn't want your product. What do you mean?
Scary.
You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
how do you operate that way?
It is scary. All right, less of us, more of you. Appreciate everybody here today. Please, if you're watching, hit the like button. If all 537 of you hit the like button right now, life would be very good. So
Thanks.
Please, if you have not hit the like button yet, please hit the like button. It helps us grow the channel. By the way, we are rapidly approaching 20,000 subscribers on this show. We are at 16,400. So if you're not subscribed, please consider giving us a subscription. We would appreciate that. Truck Stop Gumby, the first one in today, says, look who's back. Meat Rocket says, dang, I wanted to be first.
Dude, you're slacking, dude. You're slacking.
Matt Ritson says, saw Pac-10 refs going to the Big Ten today. Yeah, by the way, on top of all of this, there was a mass exodus of Pac-10 officials, which I actually think isn't a loss, it's a gain. Because Pac-10 officials have been terrible. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. Derek Myrie, what's up? A member of the show. Colorado will be at least 8-4 this year. I don't know. Listen. Prime was on Pat McAfee today. The Pat McAfee show. Now, I'm a daily viewer of the Pat McAfee show. Deion Sanders was on the Pat McAfee show talking about the mass exodus of players. Do you buy what Deion's selling?
It seems like now that people are transferring, though, everybody's trying to spin it like, oh, is it working? Is it working? This has been the plan all along, I assume. No hard feelings. You just got to build something there. That's what you were hired to do.
Man, you know what's so funny about this? And I'm trying to choose my words because I'm a head coach and I can't just say what I feel. Usually I do.
Respect.
But people got to be crazy to think this just happens. It don't just happen. You make it happen. You know what you want. I don't pull up through a drive. I can't stand people who pull up through a drive-through and don't know what they want. Before I get there, I know what I want.
Smart.
Right? I'm not just making this stuff up as we go. We know what we want, and I don't concede, man. I don't settle. I know what I want, and I know what I'm going to get. We don't settle.
Now, first of all, amen. Will you please stop sitting in the drive-thru line looking at the menu, you dumbass? That drives me crazy. Second of all, I love the guy. I'm a huge Deion Sanders fan. Coach Prime, I think, has been amazing for this conference. There's not a chance in hell that dude's winning 8 games with that schedule. There's not. And I don't care if Jesus Christ incarnate is his tailback and all the Jehovah Witnesses are his offensive line.
I don't care if Noah is playing, center, dude.
Yeah.
The seas aren't parting.
Yeah. That would be Moses, dumbass. Anyway, the point is, come on, man. Come on, man. There's no chance.
Yeah.
There is no chance that, no. Jeremy Callahan, hey, Monty, let's hump it up. What? Hey, I'm working over here. You know what I'm saying?
Let's hump it up.
What? It's hump day. It's Wednesday.
I know.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah, I feel like crazy. April went by in like a blink.
Rhett Williams says, Sko Grizz tonight. Again, Monty fans, I got 2 tickets to the playoff game tonight. First to comment back gets them. Let's go.
Okay.
Who wants to
Rhett?
who wants to come on out to the Maverick Center? Huge game tonight. Grizzlies are up 2-0 on their rivals, the Idaho Steelheads. Rhett Williams has 2 tickets for you. If you want, just comment and let's get it hooked up. Tom Dubay, the Pac-12 has reality problems. They think they're the Ivy League West academically, and they think they're the Big Ten athletically. They're neither. Academically, I think the Pac-12 is
right up there, dude.
A fantastic conference.
Yeah,
they are. And I understand. Well, I don't really understand, but I understand people don't get it. But they are. But athletically, I think there's a lot to be desired. I mean, the basketball side of this conference is not good. It's not good at all. Truck Stop Gumby, Big 12 is on its way to Mexico before the wall gets built. Easy. Connor Johnson, the presidents have signed non-disclosure agreements, so there is near 0% chance that any president have given insider advice to the Monty Show. Okay. I mean, that's if that's what you believe, knock yourself out, dude. And by the way, do you really think that a president's going to sign a non-disclosure agreement on a deal? You just ask yourself this question. Bro. A non-disclosure agreement on a deal that hasn't even been consummated. So let me get this right. I'm going to sign a non-disclosure agreement on a contract that doesn't exist. So I'm So I'm non-disclosing something that's not real.
And some only want to hear what they want to hear.
So let me ask you something. If they signed a non-disclosure agreement, and I know that's crazy, if they signed a non-disclosure agreement, can I ask you just a basic question? Why are they all doing interviews? And I know they signed a non-disclosure agreement. And I mean, I am offended.
Do you know what that's like these days?
That the chancellor at Colorado would be talking about the TV deal when he signed a non-disclosure agreement. Holy cow.
It's not the best situation, and we all know that.
I mean, I don't know how. I mean, he must have a lot of bread to pay for the suit.
I don't know where people get stuff like this, but...
What an idiot.
What are you talking about? And by the way, if we're not talking to anybody, like we made this shit up. Oh, man, they made it up. Point out to what we've been wrong about. It's the same thing I say to everybody. If we're just so up in the night and we are on hallucinogens, what have we been wrong about? No, go ahead. I'm waiting. I don't want to interrupt you. Connor, I mean, you know. Like, this is a part that I just think is so funny. Like you're and Connor, I don't know what your motive is or what, if you just want to be likes to fight guy. But please, by all means, come on in. Let's have the conversation.
He's an assassin.
Starry says, I signed an NDA this morning. Can't say any more about it, Monty. All right, Starry.
You know.
What are you talking about?
Okay,
Like,
that was an epic troll.
Do you hear the shit that comes out of your fingers on the keyboard when you're
People are
typing
misinterpreting
it?
what I'm
signed
saying.
an NDA. Apparently, Colorado didn't get the message about the NDA.
Twitter's been going crazy.
I mean, you must not have read it, right? Because he just did an interview Saturday. What are you talking about? Tanner Plummer, NDAs are more famously used to cover sex scandals. Like, okay. Mike
What
Maples.
the fuck does one thing have to do
Seriously.
with the other?
Like, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, Connor. I'm truly not. But if these presidents and chancellors had signed NDAs, like Taylor Randall's done interviews, President Robbins at Arizona has done like 50 interviews.
Ray Anderson.
President Chow, or Crow rather, excuse me. Like, I mean, are you serious right now? What are you talking about? At least think it through. Think it through.
We were saying that.
Truck Stop Gumby, imagine thinking the Ohio State is greater than Stanford academically. Yeah, seriously. Dude, you can say what you want about the Pac-12. Academics is not where you try to hit them.
Speaking of Ohio State, did y'all see that CJ Stroud video today where he talked about how you can't be stupid to play at Ohio State? He's like, pretty sure you have to be smart to play at Ohio State. Not as smart as you have to be to play at Stanford, my guy. Just saying. Just saying.
Dude, the damage that was done to CJ Stroud and the absolute, I don't even know what you say about CJ Stroud anymore. Like, CJ Stroud is damaged goods.
I'm not a test taker, so I play football for me. But at the end of the day, man, I don't got nothing to prove to nobody, so I'm not going to sit here and explain how I process football. The people who are making the picks know what I can do. So that's all that matters to me. There's a whole bunch of people who know how to coach better, know how to play quarterback better, know how to do everything on social media, but that man in the arena, that's what's tough, is stepping in the arena 10 toes. So, and I'm going to stand on that, and I know what I can do. I know I can process well. I know if I'm not the smartest quarterback in this draft, I know I'm one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL when I step in there tomorrow. So I have that confidence in myself, and I don't think you can play at Ohio State and not be smart. So I don't got nothing to prove to nobody, man. At the end of the day, if you don't trust and believe in me, all I can tell you is watch this.
I mean, listen, and if you guys don't know this story, there's a cognitive test that they give, in this case, all the quarterbacks that are in the draft. He got an 18%. I said 18%. And Bryce Young at Alabama, I think, got a 98%.
You know.
Will Levis was number 2. And now CJ Stroud, who is probably going to be the number 1 pick, is projected to be at the bottom half of the first round.
You know.
CJ Stroud, yeah, I would admit you're not a tested dude. Thanks for letting us know you're not a good test taker.
Might want to learn how to take the S2 test because you just lost millions of dollars.
Oh my
bro.
God. Can you imagine the humiliation that dude has gone on. It's amazing. Blake says, I blocked that Connor kid a long time ago. It's not about blocking him. I mean, but if you're going to come in and make, crazy statements, you got to back it up.
Which he hasn't.
Sports Exchange Podcast. You've been wrong about the Four Corners School leaving. We never said the Four Corners School were leaving.
Yeah.
I think we're the only ones who have told you Utah is not on board going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could be wrong. And you guys, again, Sports Express podcast, clearly you know more than I do. Last time I checked, Utah was in the Four Corners.
Yeah.
In that conversation. And I believe we're the only ones who are reporting, and mainly because we've talked to the people at the top of the food chain at Utah multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? They have straight up told us, yeah, we talked to the Big 12.
What's up, big bro?
And we double confirmed through the Big 12 and through TV sources, in fact, even, that Utah, who told us, hey, we told them we feel like we would lose academic revenue and standing if we leave the Pac-12. So right now, we don't feel like it's the right fit for us. We're going to stay.
Oh.
And, oh, by the way, since you're new to the show, we've also reported for the last 2 weeks that Taylor Randall's been a peacemaker in the process.
Yeah.
And that he has been calming people down.
Mm-hmm.
We've never reported the Four Corners thing because we have not heard that.
It's a gimmick.
It is absolutely a gimmick. And by the way, I don't even know what the Four Corners would represent, frankly. Because if you look at Arizona State, they're tied together. That's not rocket science.
Yeah.
And frankly, Colorado, I don't believe that Colorado is the one that's on the gas pedal looking to get out of the conference. I do not. And again, what we've told you about Colorado is Colorado would, but they're not in any hurry because why would they be?
Mm-hmm.
So, no, we never reported that.
Welcome to the show, though.
But nice to meet you. Thanks for watching the show. Truck Stop Gumby, my NDA keeps me from talking about my NDA. There you go.
Kick a person when he's down.
There you go. Provo Cougar, Richard Tracy, you may have to watch OSU and Washington State in the Mountain West. I honestly think Oregon State is one of the schools that is a prime candidate.
Yeah.
That is one thing we've also, for the new folks, one of the things we've talked about on this show is that we have heard from sources multiple times, hey, keep your eye on Oregon State. Keep your eye on Oregon State. Now, unfortunately, Scott Barnes, our athletic director, just had a heart attack, a very public heart attack, unfortunately. I don't know if that slows the process down. They have a newer president there. That's a real shame. And I hope he's okay, unrelated to whatever happens in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
Barnes is a great dude, and I hope he's okay. David Floyd, why would Tier 2 and 3 be worth more than Tier 1? I don't think Tier 2 and 3. I don't believe that there are tiers anymore.
Yeah.
You also got to remember something. In football, they have at most 5 games a week. They only have 10 teams. So they only have 5 games a week here. So if you have 2 teams on bye, which is you're going to have to put 2 teams on bye when you make that schedule, because you can't have 1 team on bye and, well, what are they going to play, 2 versus 1? Right? So 2 teams are going to have to be on bye. It's going to be like the old Big 12 schedule. You're going to have 4 games for a good part of the season. You're only going to have 4 games a week.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that question that he's talking about is this ESPN Apple conversation we were having earlier about, hey, ESPN, the Pac-12 wants ESPN to have Tier 1. Tier 1 doesn't mean visually that, ESPN is above Apple somehow. What that means is that the Pac-12 wants ESPN on linear TV to have their best games because they believe that's what's healthiest for the conference. So Tier 1 doesn't mean, hey, highest price tag. That's just kind of the industry language. Tier 2 for the Pac-12 is probably going to be worth, financially more from a streamer than Tier 1 is if they go with ESPN. So you have to keep in mind that the tiering thing is not a traditional sense, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where and again, this is just my opinion, when you look at the way these deals are done, right, and you start really think about this, what is the practical application a year from now, going into the 2024 season? What's the practical application for distribution for the Pac-12? Okay, well, if it's on Apple TV, okay, let's pretend the Pac-12 does a big deal with Apple TV. Okay, so how many bars are going to easily integrate Apple TV into their stuff? Okay, maybe some. So let's say you lose a quarter of sports bars across the country. That's the conversation that's being had in the Pac-12. They're worried about phones. They're worried about sports bars. They're worried about the AP voter that is the casual football fan, but absolutely is dialed into the SEC every week.
Yes.
They're worried about the AP voter in Tuscaloosa that covers Alabama, who when he's done writing his game story and it's 11:30 at night on the East Coast, he's going to go home and plop himself down on his couch or in his lazy boy and flip on Sports Center, but it's not going to be Sports Center. It's actually going to be USC and, oh, wait, no, it won't. Okay, so it's going to be Arizona State versus Oregon State. Okay, well, if it's on ESPN, he's going to watch that. If that guy has to find Apple TV and subscribe to it to see the game, does he ever subscribe to it to see the game?
No.
Not a chance in the world.
Nope.
He'll read the box score. He'll wake up on Sunday morning before he puts his vote in. He'll read the box score. He'll do his research. He's never going to see that game.
Yeah.
That's the practical application of it. They're worried about the ease because those AP voters, and I would even go further than that, the people on the College Football Playoff Committee. You have this expanded college football playoff now. So you have all these voters that are spread out across the country. Let's say Condoleezza Rice.
Mm-hmm.
She's buying wherever the Pac-12 TV deal is. All right, Stanford alum, she's buying it. But what about Jimmy from New York City? What about the East Coast or the Southwest guy, the guy in Dallas, who's got plenty of Big 12 football on Fox and ESPN? He's not buying Pac-12 TV. It's damaging on so many more levels than just how many people are watching.
Yes.
And then if you got to pay a rebate because the majority of people, aren't subscribing to see Pac-12 football, dude, you're in a world of hurt.
And that's already on top of the rebate to Comcast,
which is a totally another completely different part of this conversation. I'm telling you now, man, this is a very complex conversation.
But that's what I mean. Like, for the PAC, it's not an easy thing. Like you can have when we have these conversations, like, we can focus on the streaming side of it. But then, okay, let's say they get a TV deal done and everything's amazing and George does his back of the envelope calculations in the, hey, we got a TV deal done speech, right? Like, and everything is happy. Well, it's like, all right, well, we still got another problem.
Yeah.
We still got to pay back that $50 million. We still, like that's what I mean. It's not an easy road to hoe. And that's why I think you have to have creativity and out-of-the-box thinking to get out of this thing.
And this is that part of the conversation about, is Apple a good partner for the Pac-12?
What makes a good partner?
I think where it's easy to find and you make a bunch of revenue based on your TV deal.
Yeah. Because
that's what's going to happen is you and again, let's assume that they go to Apple. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some fans who are just they're going to clench their teeth and subscribe to Apple TV to see Pac-12 football.
Let's settle this right now.
But are there more fans that will clench their teeth and enter their credit card information, put a card on file? Or are there more fans who are like, no, fuck it, I'm not doing that. I already pay for too much stream. My wife's already riding me because I bought a new, I got this new putter and I got the Super Stroke grip on the Scotty Cameron putter. Like, hey, and I'm trying to get the new Callaway drivers. The Big Bertha just came out, man. The new Callaway driver just came out. She's going to kick my ass if I do that. And then I go and I pay, $300 a year for Pac-12 sports. I think the biggest concern, and my guess is people will pay for it, but I think more people will be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Because I also think, and I've heard more than once, one of the arguments with Apple TV is Apple TV doesn't want to do it a la carte. Mm-hmm. Apple TV doesn't want to say to Oregon State fans, yeah, you can just buy the Oregon State package. They want you to buy the entire package.
Yep.
And it's to me, it's a ball buster.
Yeah,
so,
well, I think that's what you've seen with MLS. That's what you've seen with a couple other options.
Absolutely what
Like,
you've
I
seen
think,
with MLS.
Like, I think, it's really interesting. Like, Amazon gives you that experience. Like, on Amazon, you get to choose whether you want to watch Thursday Night Football or
Man,
not.
I think you know what you get on Amazon Prime? You get the stats, you get the AWS Analytics channel, or you watch the game channel, or you watch, like...
That's true.
I don't know, man.
It's true.
And again, this is just me. This is just I think these are all issues as to why you have to be really careful when you are choosing what pizza you're going to eat as part of your ecosystem for Pac-12 football on Apple TV. I think we're all aware that it's the Taco Grande from Papa Murphy's.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and I make fresh, delicious Papa Murphy's pizza.
Hi, I'm Zach, and I make the Papa Murphy's pizza.
Sure, that's take and bake. We built it with the freshest ingredients. You bake it fresh in your oven.
By you mean me, so technically, I make the pizza.
Super good pizza, Kylie.
Oh, Kylie, so good. Right now, enjoy big-time taco flavors on a pizza with the limited-time Taco Grande. Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza.